Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
And then everybody's like, that's the cleanest, most beautiful sounding audio. So as a safety, I think we should just go ahead and
start right there where you say it's the cleanest, most beautiful audio. That's what a start to the show, Jacob.
The cleanest, most beautiful audio in the world. So we're going to do our pleasantries up front again and introduce everybody right now. I'm Jacob.
I'm Noel.
And
Elise.
I almost cut you off, Elise. What a jerk I am. And we'd like to welcome to the show with the cleanest, most perfect audio in the world, our guest, Karen Sugar. She is the director and founder of the Women's Global Empowerment Fund. So welcome to the Biofriendly Podcast.
Yay, welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining the show.
Yay. I was so happy to be invited. And then I was like, wait, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not smart enough. I don't know enough. But I think
we
I
have
do.
Tons of dumb people on the show. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, we had our friend Clayton on. I'm just kidding, Clayton. You're a genius.
Clayton, we love you dearly.
Yes.
And Sean.
We have smart people, but not everybody's a scientist or a doctor. They don't have to be, right?
Yeah.
We want people who have interesting, who can bring something interesting to teach us something about sustainability, about the environment, and also and that expands out to all sorts of sustainability, social sustainability and cultural sustainability, and you actually have a lot that you can bring from that.
Yes,
that we'd love to talk about today.
Yes, and her last name is Sugar, so she's the sweetest guest that we'll ever have on the show.
So Karen,
we should have had her on our sugar episode.
We had a sugar episode.
Episode.
All right, start over. No.
Third time's the charm.
Karen, Jacob's not going to stop doing this, by the way. He'll be dropping like sweet puns and sugar puns and all there's because it's what he can't help it.
Well, as we talked about in the beginning, my name Karen is like demonized. So when I say it, sometimes people start laughing or they'll be like, "Oh, that's a terrible name." I'm like, I know, but I'm so antithetical to what they're saying about the Karen thing.
Right.
So I usually just go with Sugar, so it's okay.
Yeah. Sugar.
So you just lead. You go, I'm Sugar.
Oh, no.
I love it. No, but when we were talking earlier, what I love about it is she's a teacher.
Wow.
And she also, you tell your class sometimes to call you.
Well, they just call me Professor Sugar, and I'm like,
That's the
and
coolest.
sometimes, and some,
Sugar.
it doesn't it? It's very cool, but it's also like slightly like, is that your porn name? Is that a real name?
Sure, it might not be appropriate.
Yeah.
But that's
right?
also what makes it awesome, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's on the line of danger.
It's
Exactly.
dangerous.
Ask no questions.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, what part of the world are we talking to you?
Okay, I'm in Venice, California today.
Why isn't she here hanging out in the office, right? Or
I'm having words with Katrina. You should have been invited to come.
Or
join
we
us.
should have gone to
Or
Venice.
we should have gone to Venice. It would have been more probably
way more enjoyable.
That would
We're
have
in
been
Pasadena.
fun. We could have set up on my front porch. People go by. All kinds of interesting things are happening from minute to minute.
Oh, Professor. We blew it.
Professor Sugar, we want to get to Venice immediately.
All right, well, next time. We'll do it again. We'll come back. We'll do it again.
Yes. Is that I noticed that sometimes when I was looking at the website, though, it says Colorado. Do you also have operations over there, or is that...
I lived in Colorado for many years, and that is where I founded the organization. And then I moved to California 4 years ago for a work partnership that we had, and maybe some well-being. I'm not sure. The jury's out on that.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time in Southern California, so it wasn't like totally a crazy move for me. But, on a daily basis, I'm like, I should move back to Colorado. It's really hard. I miss it, but I love it here. But then, here's complicated and there's not. And so
Totally.
I understand. I think everybody who lives here has that. It's the back and forth, the waffling of like, I love it here, but I miss seasons. I yearn for maybe a little calmer life sometimes, And
I'd really like some better public policy around social issues.
Yeah.
I think for me, because I started, I've always worked in the nonprofit or the political arena with women and family and poverty issues, pretty much my whole life. So I worked in a homeless shelter in Atlanta for several years, and I worked in a couple other shelters. And so the issues around the unhoused is like my wheelhouse. And even though I work internationally now, it's something that I'm really passionate about. So living here, it's kind of soul crushing for me, the dichotomy of having one of the wealthiest, states, 5th largest economy in the world, and yet we have this tragic homeless issue. And, it's not rocket science. There's no affordable housing. There's not enough mental health. There's not a good shelter system that's actually interconnected. Even a tiny thing like letting you bring your dog. There are things that we could do. This isn't something we don't know how to do. It's just there's not the political will to do it. And also no one wants it in their yard. No one wants it in their neighborhood. No one wants to have services. And that is my biggest issue living in LA, I think, is that issue.
Can you actually talk for a minute? That's an interesting point. I think that people don't necessarily understand is the importance of having the shelter be interconnected with the rest of the system. I mean, could you actually kind of go into that for a minute? Because I'd love for you to sort of...
we have such a fragmented approach to poverty interventions. I mean, just in general. And what I realized working in the shelter, which was my first kind of entry point into direct service, like in working with directly with homeless populations, it was women and children. And I realized that we continually set them up for failure. Nothing's really connected. So think about this. You have a mom. She has a newborn baby, which was our target population. She has a couple of other children. She goes to work every day at a minimum wage job, which will never enable her to take care of her family properly. She has to get up in the morning and take one kid to this daycare center over here, another kid to another daycare center or school over here. Go to her job, pick everyone back up at 5:30 after working, probably not a fun job for exploitive wages, and come back. She's exhausted, has a baby, and has to get up in the morning and do it all over again. And then she gets a Section 8 housing voucher that is for, low income or paid housing. It's in a food desert where the only food possibility is a mini mart, with completely non-nutritional food. It may or may not be next to the public transport that she needs. And it's just, we continually set people up for failure. And it's the same thing with the unhoused problem here. It's not the services are not connected. It's not fluid. It's inconsistent. There are breakages in the service chain. And one city has this set of rules. Another city has this set of rules. No one really wants to take ownership or responsibility of the issue. And, I said this to my best friend the other day, and she totally laughed and called me out on it. But I was like, we just all need to share more. Come on. She was like, oh my God, no one's buying that. That's ridiculous. But I was like, we need to share our space. We need to share our resources. We need to share our planet. And talking about biofriendly or biodiversity practices, having large populations of unhoused individuals is not healthy for the planet. It's not healthy for a community. And there is an environmental impact to that.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Well, and look, if people have a way to get out of that situation, they're generally going to go for it, right? Yeah. So if you give them something that works, that actually gives them a chance to fight their way out and get back into a better life. Let's be honest, it's a better life to have kids and then a home and then a good job, than to not.
Let's just pay people decent wages, and then the role, the number of unhoused, the number of people on. The welfare rolls, which I don't necessarily like that word, but if we paid people decent wages, we wouldn't need these things as much. I mean, it is important to note that there will always be a segment of our society that just can't really function in that narrow, lane that we provide, right? Some people, whether it's mental issues, PTSD, because there's a lot of veterans on the street that are homeless that have no desire to be wrapped in services and get back into a system again, right? Yeah. And so you're always going to have that, but that's a very small percentage of the unhoused, right? Anyway, okay.
Well, hey, look, that was a bit of a tangent, right?
Yeah, but
it was a good setup, I think, because that sort of helps us to lead towards your organization.
Yeah.
Which, if you could talk to us for a minute about what you do, because it's pretty rad, and we want everybody to know about it.
I love hearing the passion in your what you're sharing with us, and you can clearly hear how long you've worked in helping people and working in this. So yeah, absolutely, to Noel's point, let's hear what is the Women's Global Empowerment Fund.
Well, thank you for getting the name right. Seriously, that's we're already doing well.
I practiced many times before the show.
The thing is, when I created the name of this organization, I was in graduate school, and I decided I was sitting in a class one day, half the students were sleeping. It was definitely a pretty dry film we were watching. I was mesmerized because it was about women in India in a savings group lending kind of model. And I was, after working with poverty issues and gender-based violence issues, I was just became very passionate about this idea around microfinance and attaching it to other programs as well, right? And what the potential for that is. So anyway, I'm sitting in this class and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think I could do this. And I think I could do this internationally. I have zero idea where that came from. It was kind of like a moment of brilliance or insanity or both or whatever. And so I decided to create an international nonprofit focused on not just micro lending activity, but literacy, leadership development, and health. Cool. I looked around the world at best practices and created a model. It's very unique. Am I a big fan of microfinance? No, because I'm sure there are people that are listening to this that know that it actually can create more poverty and indebtedness, and there's been serious issues with profiteering off the backs of the poor. So absolutely, I am microfinance's biggest critic, but I do think that when done well, it can be an effective tool at alleviating abject poverty.
Well, I think it's just like anything else, right? So if something is corrupted, if somebody says, if you're told as an organization and you have a corrupt organization, hey, you have all of these microfinance loans that you need to give out. Well, look, you're already a corrupt organization. You're gonna mess with that. Yeah. You're gonna screw it up, right? But microfinance could be fantastic because a lot of times a little bit of money given to the right person for the right opportunity changes not only their life, but it creates more finance. It creates a bigger economy.
Yeah, the spirals can be amazing. I think when the banks got involved and when people saw that there was a potential for profit, no matter where it came from, got involved, that's when it kind of became co-opted and corrupted. The banksters, as I like to call them. So
banksters.
Anyway, I feel like the model I created has a lot of integrity and a lot of intention to it. I think what makes that... So what I was going to say is, I'm in grad school. I don't know what I'm doing, but I decided to do this. I have a board. My first board chair was the chair of my thesis committee. I mean, it was just my peers in grad school were my first board members. No one told me no. No one told me, this is kind of a crazy idea. Are you sure you want to do this? Right. And I was sitting at a Panera in Cherry Creek in Colorado. So anyone from Denver
all the best ideas come at the Panera in Cherry Creek, Colorado.
Everybody knows that.
For Panera, right? I'm sitting there doodling on a napkin trying to figure out what I'm going to call this thing. And I came up with Women's Global Empowerment Fund. Well, it's the longest name ever. And everybody messes it up. And, I have to say it 100 times a day. So, of course, I love it and I'm fine with it. But thank you for getting it right. That was a very long story to get to the
We love it. The show is all about that. We just take the time, get around to the story. I love it.
If it takes explaining the name to explain what you do, then that works just well for us.
But you... Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just going to take it a tiny bit further. So basically, we have a micro-lending program, but we also have a leadership development initiative that's threaded through the entire program. So women come to us self-selected with a business idea in a group of women. So we do a group lending model. There's right away they have to elect a chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer. So for women that want those kinds of responsibilities and want to be leaders, which women are natural leaders. I've learned that in my work and take on that role really easily and naturally and are really good at it. And then
absolutely.
Yeah, and so then we have this leadership development initiative focused through our entire program. We have literacy, and then our health initiative is menstrual health, which, I'm not sure how much you know, but period poverty is a global issue for women. But women in the global South, Yeah, it is a huge issue. So women and girls in the global South often use rags, newspapers, banana leaves.
Wow.
They don't have access to menstrual health products, but they also don't have the money to buy them. I mean, if you are living under the international, which is just such a crazy poverty line, of $1.90 a day, which is nuts because no one can thrive on $1.90 a day no matter where you live, and you have 2 daughters, or you have a daughter and yourself. There's no way you can afford it even if they are there for you. Right. So it's a huge issue, and that is so undignified. And it also has an environmental component to it, right? Anyway, so that's our health initiative. It's fascinating. What we do is we have created a locally sourced, locally produced product. And we have 16 schools across the region that we deliver product to keep girls in school longer. Because if you can, it's the third major reason that girls drop out of school. First is poverty, because there are always school fees. Even if it says it's free, it's never free. Early marriage, because once a girl gets to a certain age, and a boy as well, but mostly girls, they are expected to either get married or contribute to the family income. And education for them is sometimes not thought of as a priority. And then the third reason is menstrual health, which is just unacceptable. It's just, again, not a rocket science moment. See, I don't even have to be a scientist. Not a rocket science moment. Just like common sense. So our goal is to keep girls in school, through high school, because then the opportunities are wide open for them. They can be civil servants, they can be teachers, they can be shopkeepers, all kinds of things. And but when they drop out at 13 or 14, their options are very, very limited.
And this takes place in Uganda primarily, right?
Yeah, in northern Uganda.
That is the region that you're focused on.
Yeah, which when I went in 2000, that in and of itself is kind of a nutty story because I had never been to the African continent and obviously had never been to Uganda. And when I was trying to figure out where to land this program, I didn't know where to go. I was kind of thinking South America or Central America only because it was closer in proximity a little bit. But I realized that they didn't need micro enterprise there. There were so many micro lenders there actually doing bad work. But, so somebody introduced me to someone from Uganda, and I became very interested in his country and the civil war that had been going on for 25 years with almost 30,000 children being abducted to be child soldiers and sex slaves. And so it was one of the most brutal civil insurgencies ever that was mostly invisible to the rest of the world. There was a group called is it Invisible Children? I can't remember.
Yes, I remember that. They got a lot of press in the early 2010, 2011.
And they ended up being nuts, and they do nothing. Please don't give to that organization.
It was very controversial because the money wasn't going to the right places, and that the person that was being pursued was not,
which unfortunately happens all the time.
Yeah,
you do have to keep your eyes peeled and look into which organizations you donate.
Yeah, and I think the thing that was so troubling is that they continued to perpetuate this narrative that the conflict was ongoing and that the night commuters and the children were still being abducted after the war had concluded. And the people in Uganda were so upset about it because they were like, this is not the story. This is not an accurate story of our lives. And don't tell our story and be dishonest. And, when you are marginalized or live in an under-resourced community, oftentimes you are exploited by the philanthropic world, by others, and they tell your story, they show photos, your images are exploited. You have, for some reason, poverty equates, that you give up your autonomy in some ways.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a really tragic thing to see. So they were very upset about that. But when I did start there, they were just coming out of this very long and brutal conflict, and the region was very vulnerable and very tender. And I landed and I was like looking out the window and I was like, what the hell am I doing? I was by myself. I mean, I had never...
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Right?
I had never met my program director. We didn't even have Skype then. We only talked on the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Really. And, of course he was an hour late to pick me up, and they make you leave the airport, and it was a lot of guns everywhere, and I was just...
So you felt really safe, really secure. Things were great.
I was like, and I looked confused. I'm sure I looked like I was a big mess, because I was. Yeah. And my phone wasn't working.
Okay.
And I almost got in the car with this guy who was like, oh, I'm going to the same hotel. I'll give you a ride. My friend's picking me up. Oh, God. And I was like, okay, because there are no taxis. There's no, and I'm just sitting there. And I hear my mother in my ear, saying, don't get in cars with strangers. And I was like, okay, but I have no choices here. Anyway, Bukenya, who I love more than any man on the planet, showed up at the end.
Okay,
I mean, I still have not forgiven him.
I gotta know, why was he late?
Why was he late? What was this? Come on. Do you leave Professor Sugar waiting? Come on.
Literally, I have not forgiven him to this day, and I bring it up constantly to scutch him. But anyway, he's an amazing man. I mean, that's another story. I have the best team. I only hire young Ugandans who want to work in their country and are committed. I don't hire white people. I don't send white people over to countries that they have no interest in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also people who know the country, know the agriculture, know the system. You know what I mean?
The language, the cultural
You save
norms.
a ton of time rather than bringing in a white person who's going to come in and be like, now where do I start? What's
infrastructure?
And how does this thing work? You're saving yourself a ton of time and a ton of wasted energy. I get it. I get it. I'd be terrible out there.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
She agrees with you, Jacob.
I know.
You'd be terrible at that.
She's right. She's right. I'd be telling puns about her last name the whole time.
You're brilliant. You can come over to Venice and hang out in my office anytin.
All right.
Okay, so we can be here.
We can be here, but
stop
not
trying
Uganda.
Stop trying to help the people in Uganda, because you're just screwing it up. Go ahead.
I was going to say, there is this idea that somehow Westerners we know more.
For sure.
Things. So this is my one of my adages, and I do say this in teaching a lot. There's this whole idea, that teach a man to fish statement that people use, kind of. And for me, what I've learned is that these women know how to freaking fish. They just need a fishing pole and seas that are not overfished. Right? Yeah. I mean, they know how to fish. They know how to farm. So
absolutely.
In 2010, we started, because what I knew starting this organization was that for the North to have a healthy recovery, they had to feed themselves.
Right.
The global agriculture apparatus is so perverted, and it actually creates poverty, scarcity, and hunger. I've worked in Haiti. I've worked in some really challenging places that should be growing their own food. So I knew that was something I wanted to start. With your microfinance loans. So what kind of projects have been started? Like this is kind of, you've dug into something I'm really fascinated by, which is once you actually provide people with what they need to build what they could actually use in the area, like what do we have now down in it started out because it was just coming out of this long, brutal conflict, that it started out with mostly like small stalls in the outdoor markets of vegetables and fruits and old clothes. And so what they do is they go to a big market, in the main city. They buy things and they come and sell it in the markets there. Or they buy local produce or things from their garden.
Right.
And then it turned into, I'll give you an example of this group of 4 women who I was sitting on the floor in a storeroom. I still have no idea what I'm doing there half the time. So we're in this storage room and I'm sitting on the dirt floor, and I don't know what this storage room is, except there are huge bags of like food stuff and produce and stuff. And so I'm sitting there with 4 women, and then I realized that one of them, this is for the storeroom for her restaurant, which is in the front, and we came in the back. So these 4 women formed a group. 2 of them have stalls in the market, and they sell spices and a few other things, produce, other things. One woman has a small ag project, and then this other woman has this restaurant, and it's like one of the hottest spots in Gulu, Uganda. It's amazing.
Yeah.
If you come with me someday, I will take you there.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm good at eating.
So they were talking to me about, I always like to know what their challenges are, where their successes are, how has this program helped them? And they've taken out 5 loans. So when someone pays back a loan, they are eligible to take out a larger loan.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the one woman needed a leak-free roof on her stall in the market, because otherwise you have to take everything out every night because it'll get wet.
Annoying.
Right?
Yeah.
annoying. And so with one of the loans, that's what she did with her money, paid it back.
Awesome.
Beatrice wanted to purchase the land her restaurant is in and the building. So she wanted to purchase this. So the group took out a big loan. And when I say a big loan, I think it was $600.
Wow.
Puts it in perspective.
Right. Yeah. And gave it all to Beatrice, who then paid it back. And then they took out another loan, and they each, So, and one of them actually got a leak-free roof on her home, which is a huge milestone in development. Because if you don't have a leak-free roof, your house is a mess. It's not healthy. Things like that. So
that what you said also opens up, I think, an interesting point for our audience, which is that $600 buys the land that you need to have your own space to do business. Yeah. So that's a huge point, right? When we're talking about supporting an organization like yours, as an example, right?
Everybody can make a difference, right?
Right.
Like literally. Our average loan is like $60.
Yeah.
Our average ag loan is a little bit more than that, but our average loan is like $60. And you can, start a stall in the market. You can start a, small cafe out of your home. You can do food delivery service. You can start a hair braiding salon. I mean, we have women making microbrews. We have,
awesome.
Wine, ginger beer, everything.
Count me in.
Yeah.
I'm all over that. But
he can't help them fix anything. But he can absolutely drink all of their products.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm for a good time. But I was going to say,
welcome guest. You will be a welcome guest.
There was a statistic, and I don't want to mess up the number, but it was the amount of women in Africa, or maybe it was just Uganda, that are farming and agriculture. Just the percentage of women that are there that are responsible for it. I remember reading that somewhere.
It's
wasn't
80%. About 80% of food production in Africa is done by women. Women are the food producers of Africa. They are the farmers in Africa. It's a traditional role for them. They're also brilliant at it, and they're also the keepers of the seeds, the custodians of the seeds, right? So
that's awesome.
When you talk about biodiversity and the pressure by big agribusiness and seed companies to actually stomp out indigenous seeds, right? They want to Monsanto wants to sell seeds to everyone. Right. And they want to stomp out this, traditional seed exchange. And it's mostly free. I mean, sometimes there's a small cost, but they keep these seeds. It's very, I don't even understand it, to be honest. It's like a secret sorority that you just really don't know how it works, but it works, and it's important. And it's important for the environment. It's important for biodiversity to make sure that indigenous seeds, wild foods, different kinds of crops, medicinal crops, that they're all able to continue to thrive. And that's where you get increased nutrition, increased diversity in food. So a lot of times when people do look at food security, they only look like how many meals are you eating a day, or are you less hungry? We drilled down and did a survey and really looked at, are you eating more protein? Are you eating more diverse foods? Are you things like that? Are you eating more nutritional foods? And that was really interesting. But women are brilliant at farming.
Yeah, that really blew my mind. It was a statistic that I wasn't prepared for. I mean, my experience of Africa as a continent and what I know is, I've never been there. Massive. I'm an African scholar.
So much African experience.
No, I've seen, I'm at least well versed in documentaries and at least getting as much information as I can. But somehow the idea that women were really the driving force behind the agriculture in Africa is not something I was aware of. And beyond that, like you mentioned, here are thousands of years of traditions and recipes and the ways that food is cultivated and prepared. And then you've got some white dude coming in, just saying.
Hi.
No, some big corporation, and they're coming in and they're trying to get the food, they're trying to market and sell. Jokes aside, it could be a person from anywhere. But people who don't know the land don't know what it needs. Right. And to swap out, one for the other just doesn't make any sense. And so that's a large part of what you're bringing back.
And there's plenty of evidence that when Europeans and now Americans come into Africa to bring in our technology, that it completely screws up what they've got going.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is fantastic. So you've been able to kind of keep Monsanto at bay a little bit in the area by helping to finance this and let these people just do what they do. Is that right?
That might be a stretch, but I feel like by supporting
I feel like you're totally doing it by yourself. You're just holding them off with one hand and then dominating with the other.
Right. I mean, they are the evil empire, but I don't know. Yeah. Maybe take that out because I'll start getting notes from them or something, or threats. But,
okay.
If you don't want the notes from them, we'll take it out. If you don't mind taking the dig, then we'll leave it in. It's up to you.
Leave it in. But when you start down that path with corporatized ag, you're going to give up autonomy of your land. You're going to give up biodiversity. You're going to give up organic farming. You're going to give all that up, and the driving force of that is profit. So when food and ag is commodified and financialized and monetized to the nth degree, where there's no space for human rights, right? Yeah, for the right to everybody to have food, safe, clean, nutritional food, that goes to the wayside and it becomes purely a for-profit endeavor.
And that's also to have a sustainable farming system, so much people don't really realize. I say this in the show many times. I've come from a family of farmers, right? But in every area, in every place, it's different. The soil is different.
Yes.
The food is different. The amount of water you have is different. Yeah. It's the
climate, the air,
everything about it is different, right? And so you have these areas where people have lived there for. I'll give you an example, right?
Okay.
The best wine. When everyone talks about you have the best wine. Well, you're getting your best wine from places in France and Italy and in Spain, and this is the greatest wine in the world. And then you have other, we try to do the same thing in California. In Australia, they're doing a lot of it. And other places, they're trying to make wines. And the wines are good. Some of them are really good.
Yeah.
But people still want the best wine, which comes from that place.
Right.
And then you go, wow, why is the wine so much better there? Yeah, okay, part of it is that what's there, right? It's the soil, it's the grapes, it's all but a big part of why the wine is better is because great-great-grandpa taught great-grandpa to do it this way, who taught great-grandpa to do it this way, who taught grandpa to do it this way, who taught dad to do it this way, who taught kid to do it this way, or daughter or mom, great-grandma, great-grandpa. That's not, I'm not going to, because women do a lot of farming, so I'm sorry. But that's, you've got, it works, and it's amazing because you have hundreds or thousands of years of practice at doing this exact thing in this exact place with this exact stuff. Right. And that applies in Africa. That applies in South America. That applies everywhere. Yeah. People know how to work their land because they've been taught how to do it, and they have generations of experience. Yeah. And when you come in with something that works somewhere else or something that's been corporatized, you screw it up.
Yeah.
There's my diatribe.
There he
It
goes.
is. It's true. It's true. And it's not like you can't have a public-private partnership or there aren't companies or technology that can help and enhance, right?
Of course.
But when it's a for-profit endeavor and you have a large multinational corporation going into countries that are cash-strapped, you know, they're going to make deals with the devil. And oftentimes that deal is to have a corporatized ag system. It hasn't totally happened all over Africa. I will say that the northern region of Africa has been an amazing place to start an ag project. We now have almost 10,000 farmers, and we have created an entire local food economy.
That's awesome.
Vibrant food economy and not only women farmers, but now women have gotten into agribusiness. Which is that a mirror? And you're just like looking at yourself?
Do you know what this is hilarious? You're so sorry.
Happening?
So we've got this show.
Jacob,
You've come on what is the most randomly
The technical problems on this day.
Our show has technical problems. I won't lie to you, and the
we-
audience will tell you. We have technical problems, but today has been hilarious. We've got somebody decided they're going to install a door or something outside.
Right outside. So there's drilling happening right now.
And then Jacob's,
my mic stand is failing and
So you
it's
see
falling.
him-
And so Elise came over. She offered me like 3 times during the show, can I come fix your mic stand? And I was like, no, I got it. But
we can play this off. No one's going to know.
But the whole time I've been counterbalancing with my arm. And so that's been hilarious. And then so Elise finally came over and the drill was happening and phone calls are happening. And you know what? You want to know who I blame? Noel. Because Noel this morning said, we're going to have a fantastic show today. And I'm like, he jinxed it.
He jinxed it.
Hold on to your
Okay, well, I
butt.
want
Karen,
to do over
I
that.
literally did. I really did. I was like, Jacob, I have a feeling today is going to be your best show ever. I had a good feeling this morning. I did. I said that to him, and Jacob's like, "Oh, I think it's going to be my worst show ever." In his response, and it turns out that Jacob is having a great show, but everything's going wrong around him.
Okay.
It does feel like everything's
No worries. I was
falling
just like, you were like kind of like this and kind of adjusting, and I'm like, is he like looking in a mirror and doing that?
He is. He would.
Fix
He's a
it.
pretty vain guy.
I mean, look, I'm the first to admit I would absolutely, if there was a mirror right here, I would be looking into it. And Noel knows that about me because we've worked together for 15 years and he knows I'm incredibly vain.
Yeah.
But it is not the case. I was trying to make sure that the show didn't go off the rails technically. Because subject-wise, it's wonderful.
It is terrific.
But technically, I am having a real Wednesday.
He's having a real Wednesday.
The
But
double
let's
hump day picture.
let's not let that interrupt. You were
not let
saying
that
you have
interrupt
10,000 farmers now?
Well, I mean, loans to farmers. So I should probably, it's probably not quite 10,000, but with women in agribusiness. So we have
That's
women
amazing.
farmers who now are selling their harvest and their goods to women in agribusiness. So suppliers, distributors. I mean, I've been with like a couple of women who are so now powerful. They have these big trucks and all these guys and they're loading in, you know, huge swaths of food to take to South Sudan, to take around the rest of the country. But you have to feed your community first, right? So the markets are like vibrant and it's pretty amazing. I mean, I bring all these opportunities and ideas and I put them on the table and we talk about it. And then these women take it and run with it and create something that I couldn't have even imagined.
That's so
wonderful.
great.
Yeah.
Well, look. So we're coming towards our end here, but I've got before we go, I need to know how can our audience and how can people help to support you?
I had a million more stories. Can we do part 2?
I know.
You know what that means?
We'll
we're going to have
you
a part 2,
That's
and we're
fine.
going to do it in person, either in Venice or in Pasadena or somewhere great. We're going to get together in person because now we have a policy on the show. Once you come on, you're a friend of the show. There's no turning back.
Unless you're
Like
not.
that.
No,
So we're on
she's
each
a
other's
friend.
Christmas lists. And
Well, you're a friend. No, but I mean, not everybody comes on the show as a friend of the show.
Oh, that's true.
I hate that one guy.
That one guy? Which one?
You know the one.
one.
We
You know
all,
the one.
we all.
That one
every,
guy.
every single guest on the show that's male is like, wait, is that me? I'm joking. I don't hate anyone who came on the show. It was a total joke.
Anyway,
so we can be on
more
each other's
stories.
Christmas lists, and we can come. You know, you can come over.
I love it.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so we'll do it again. I really I want to go into a show where we can dig a little more, particularly into the kind of what you've done with the agriculture in the area, because that really jives with what we're talking about in our show.
I would love that, and I'd like to include Haiti in the conversation too, because I think that is an island that used to feed itself, and when I was there, literally no food, and you see trucks go by with big bags of rice. Chicken comes in from Miami. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
We're gonna have the Haiti episode.
Yeah,
we're gonna come back. We'll do it again. We'll go visit you in Venice, and then we'll do the Haiti episode. That'll be great. Yeah, I love it. But please, how can we support you? How can we help you? Because it seems like you're doing great things with the money that you have, and if you had more, conceivably, you should be able to help more women become empowered, right?
I mean, it really is. We are a lean, small grassroots organization. I have no infrastructure in the United States. I use interns from different universities to help me. And it's just me. Because I know when people donate, they don't want it to go to my car or paying insurance or a building. It's to go to the community where they want to help.
Well, what percentage of the donations are actually going into what helps them? Let's. Well,
I will say that is kind of a false premise. So try not to pay too much attention to that when you're giving, because I teach philanthropy and ethics. So
well, here we go, Professor Sugar.
Have a conversation with that. But like 92% of our money goes to program.
Fantastic.
Well, I mean, it might mean nothing, but it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an all Ugandan staff, and it's probably actually going to be increasing because we haven't had any events for a year and a half. So, those are the kind of things that create admin costs.
Sure.
But, our wonderful team in Uganda they're amazing young Ugandans who wanted a chance to work in their community, and they work really hard. And I'm very happy that I can continue to pay them.
Right.
But I will tell you, and that we can continue to loan out money. Our literacy program, we've had to cut back on that, which is really a tragedy. Yeah. You give someone a microcredit loan, if they can't read or write, they're going to hit a wall really fast with that.
Of course.
Sure.
But when someone can read or write, even at a basic level, their whole world opens up.
Yeah.
And so we want to continue with these other programs that are all free. Yeah. No one pays any fees. No one pays for other things. And so, it's been a tough couple years, and I think our work is really, really important. And if you are inspired and you want to get involved and you feel a connection, this is a great organization to support. And so I would love for you to go to our website, wgefund.org, and make a donation of any amount. It all helps.
I mean, we all heard how far a dollar stretches, right? So
absolutely.
that's fit. So wgefund.org. Right?
Yes.
We'll link it on the episode, and we just are so thrilled that you came on the show today. And honestly, we loved you as a guest, and apologize for the sound and the mic stands and all the things that were going crazy. But honestly, we learned so much about the amazing work that the Women's Global Empowerment Fund is doing. See, I nailed it again. And we're excited to just get to know you more, your organization more, help however we can, and make sure that we're sending people to your site to get involved, because it really does make a difference. You've heard it right here. So.
Yeah. Thank
Great.
you. And there are other ways to get involved too. So always reach out to me with questions.
Okay. So they can contact you through going to the site, checking things out, see what they can do. And there's stuff in there that says ways you can get involved on the site, I believe, right? So
I really appreciate this opportunity, you guys. I feel like we didn't talk about the environment enough because it's just such a huge
You know
thing.
What? This was the intro. This was the getting to know you.
This is getting to know you.
We'll go hard on the environment next time. We'll do it'll be epic.
It'll be epic.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, we usually do a little sign off kind of wrap up over here. So you're welcome to exit the Zoom, and then I'll reach out to you afterwards, and the episode will come up at the end of this week.
Okay.
So,
God, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. So
all right, bye, you guys.
Bye. Take care. Bye, Karen.
Pleasure to meet you.
Bye. That was so great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go cry though with all the technical problems.
I don't think anyone noticed.
Other than Jacob just being like this.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm a usually happy-go-lucky guy. If you've been listening to this show for a while, you know I have a lot of fun. I laugh. I contribute. This time, I got an ulcer. The whole time, I was like, why is everything failing? Why is there a guy drilling outside? That doesn't ever happen. Anyway, Karen was lovely, and I do want to have her come back, and I'm so glad that she was able to share about what her organization is doing. But anyway. Yeah.
She was great. It was great to have her. She it's too bad we gave her the worst show in our history.
That's not true. It's not true. Technically, on the technical side, definitely a real rough one.
Yeah, although I don't think anyone noticed. I think we're fine.
You're half joking, we're
I'm not joking. I'm not joking at all. I'm serious. I'm dead serious.
What we're doing actually is really shedding. This is a classic Biofriendly Podcast move. We're pointing at the mistake.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do, right? Like most people,
ignoring it.
Yeah, we're not ignoring it. We're not like the thing I love about this show is most people have the thing and be like, was that weird? On this show, you will never wonder if there was something that messed up. We will talk about it, right?
It definitely messed up.
Because we're all silently thinking about it.
Yeah. Don't wonder, it happened.
Yeah, I love that the perspective of during the interview, she thought in her mind that there was a mirror here, and I was just totally checking myself. Just like she's talking about women in Uganda and poverty and strife, and I'm just like,
I'm great.
Wow, I look gorgeous today. I mean, it's not that far off, but she doesn't know that.
No.
Anyway, any closing up points before we give our tags and head on out of here? Is there anything else that we wanted to touch on? How are you doing?
Living the dream, Jacob.
How are you doing, Elise?
I'm amazing.
Oh, amazing! Living the dream.
Yeah. No, I think our technical speech was the wrapper. That was
it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Carefully avoiding neonicotinoids.
We are the Siegfried and Roy and Meryl Streep of podcasts.
This show is a joke.
Don't.
Never believe. Never believe. Never believe.
Step 1, chill out.
Spilling the teeth since 2019.
Technically flawless.
No, we did have a new one. We had a new one that we said last week. It was awesome. We unanimously loved it on the air conditioning one.
And do we remember it?
No.
Then it's now technically flawless.
All right. If you can remember that one next time, then we're doing technically, then it sticks. It's technically flawless. Oh, you guys, thanks so much for joining us, the Biofriendly Podcast. Make sure to tell your friends, send out these episodes, link them, post them on your social medias.
Tell your mother.
Yeah, tell your mom.
Tell your mom. Listen to the show. She can find out about how we're empowering women in Uganda.
Say hi to your mother for me. And just keep on keeping on, I guess.
Yeah. And then go to WGE Fund?
Yes, WGEFund.org. Do that. Cheerio.
Bye.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.